Before we get into today's bachelor party, let me tell you about the latest podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. It's The Dave Chang Show. If you're a fan of Momofuku or Ugly Delicious or any other David Chang property, please subscribe to The Dave Chang Show. That is his new podcast, and it begins with an episode of him telling Bill Simmons about how he found the location and the other early beginnings of his new restaurant, Major Domo, here in LA. It will be a series of conversations, sometimes with Bill, also with other guests. And who knows what's to come. He's an eminently creative guy, and we're so excited to have him on this network. In fact, I can't even believe it that I get to be alongside David Chang. So again, listen to The Dave Chang Show. Subscribe to The Dave Chang Show. I don't think you'll regret it. Welcome to Bachelor Party. I'm Juliet Litman. It's been so many weeks of no Bachelor talk. I feel like Ari left my life ages ago, and we haven't even returned to the source material. Today that changes. Old friend of the podcast, Nick Viall, is here. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
What's up?
I've missed you.
I've missed you too. I actually haven't seen you in a long time.
Both professionally and personally.
Totally. I haven't seen you in quite some time. And I've been busy. So have you. I know, because you keep popping up on Instagram stories of other Bachelor people, and I'm like, oh, that's what Nick's up to.
I love how, obviously we do that a lot as Bachelor people. And we always have a tendency of posting with each other because we know the people who follow us.
Keeps the interest alive.
Keeps the interest, but then people assume that's all we do.
Right. Is it?
Well, I mean, how many times have you hung out with me and other Bachelor people? Zero. I mean,
including Jared?
You've only seen Jared once.
That's not true. That's completely incorrect.
How many times have you seen Jared?
4 or 5.
Really?
Yes. So Jared does come around with you, but what else have you been up to if you're not just hanging out with Bachelor people? Acting?
I've been acting.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
You go on Ben and Ashley's podcast and they ask you to.
I've done that.
I've been trying to get an invite on that show and I can't get it. They won't have me. I think they only want to have members of Bachelor Nation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Ben or Ashley's call, I don't think.
Well, I would like for it to be their call because I've asked. And Ben's I was like, yeah, of course. And then of course,
well,
but he's a people pleaser.
Yes.
So he never gives me the harsh reality of no, it's never going to happen.
In Ben's world, he probably would have you on.
I would love it. Still love Ben, in case you're wondering.
I do too.
Okay, great. Did you watch Winter Games?
I did not.
Why not? So you're not watching these shows anymore?
No, I just didn't. I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't.
Did you hear that it was great?
I didn't hear anything.
What? That's not true.
I'm being totally honest.
How is that possible?
I'm definitely planning on watching Becca's season. I will watch Paradise.
As a friend of Ashley and Ben, how did you say to them, hey, how was your experience? Did you meet Kevin, Ashley's former?
I did meet Kevin.
Did you like him?
I didn't dislike him.
Okay. Were you surprised that that a relationship worked out for her out of one of these shows?
Did it work out?
Well, temporarily. More so than ever before.
I suppose it played out. If I had to have predicted how it played out, I would have probably predicted that
that they got together and then they dated for 2 months.
I mean, he lives in Canada.
I know. He does live in Canada. It's tough.
I didn't watch. I mean, I heard how Luke did not come across well in the finale.
Do you know Luke?
I've met him a few times.
Do you like him?
I don't really know him enough to have an interest.
He's now at war with ABC, basically.
My impression of Luke is that he, there was a reason why he ended up not being the Bachelor, even though he was probably at the time.
The rumor I heard is he was asking for too much money.
It was a combination of things.
Okay.
I mean, I think some of the stuff you saw of his personality kind of started to come out.
Well,
at the same time, he
ghosted. He actually seemed better on Winter Games than I had been led to believe. And he found love with this one woman.
But in fairness to Luke, didn't she live in Finland or something?
Yes, that's correct. However, you could text back, hey, not interested.
Oh, totally. And then I saw a clip of the finale where he looked bad, and I'm just surprised he just didn't say, listen, you're great, but you live across the world.
Yeah. He didn't want to have the hard conversation, which wasn't even that hard.
It's an easy out.
Yeah.
But he just kind of went dead-eyed, and I did see that.
Is he active in Bachelor Nation?
I really don't keep tabs on him. I know he...
So then he's not that active. I'm saying, do you interact with him? Do you cross paths?
Yeah, but I don't interact with everyone. I think we all have our groups of friends. Obviously, I'm out here in LA.
Yeah, but LA is the ground zero now. It used to be Chicago.
But there's a lot of LA people that I don't hang out with.
Like who's out here that
I can
you
tell
know?
you, I mean, I hang out with Jared. I hang out with Ashley. I hang out with Dean.
Dean. I want to talk about Dean in a minute. I want to meet Dean
when
as
Ben
well.
comes in town, we try to get together. When Wells is in town, we try to get together.
Wells, he hit the jackpot with Sarah Hyland.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Sarah yet.
You haven't?
But they seem to be in love.
That's so crazy and cool.
Yeah. I mean, I just more
never saw it
personally, he
coming.
seems really happy, so I'm happy for him.
They fit one of my theories about dating.
Which is?
That people are always like, there's like a joke about couples, like siblings are dating because they look alike or whatever. But that is not a joke. Like, it is real. Like, they look like they could be siblings.
Sure.
And that just happens like
if you
a
met
lot.
them and you're like, hey, they're siblings.
Yeah,
you would have been like, oh, okay.
And I think it like speaks to like just an innate narcissism in humans. That just like it comes up a lot.
Or like people also who look like their dogs.
Yeah, that's like less in my world because I don't take dogs seriously. But like,
wait, what does that mean?
Dogs are not in part of my world.
They're not a part of mine, but I just think that's like a bold statement.
I'm fine with it. This is my podcast.
Wow.
Whatever.
It's been documented.
Yeah.
Edit that out.
No, definitely will not be editing that out.
You won't even censor yourself.
I don't, This is a freewheeling conversation loosely tied to The Bachelor.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are, and again, like I will then run into other people, but I wouldn't say they're in my circle of friends that I would say reach out to and say, let's grab a beer.
Right.
I've met some of the women on Ari's season recently. They seem very nice.
Okay. Who did you meet?
I've met Kendall and Cian and Becca.
Becca.
I met Bibiana once.
Oh, cool. She was a good on.
I'm
on
a fan of
Paradise.
Bibiana.
Yeah, I like her.
She's cool.
That's cool. Like, what made you say that?
She seems very down to earth. She's older than I thought.
Yeah, she's 30.
Yeah. She's very attractive, and she doesn't take herself seriously. It's funny because when you watch a show, she obviously, my nickname for her was No Chill, because she didn't demonstrate that she had any chill.
I think she got a racially unfair edit. I think she was made to seem like a spicy Latina.
She actually is very level-headed and seems to not take herself too seriously, which I think is a very refreshing quality in someone. Sometimes people can fake that. I think everyone, there's nothing more unattractive than false self-deprecation.
Sure.
When people try to be like...
You have a big grin on your face. Like, who does that you're thinking of right now?
A lot of people.
Like, just give one example.
Oh, come on.
Come on, do it.
I mean, Josh Murray was probably
of course.
the number one.
Of course.
It's always
he
funny.
was playing a character the whole time he was on TV.
That's just who he is.
Sure.
When someone says, like, when a really good-looking person says things like, I'm ugly and unattractive and overweight. It's just like, dude.
No one says
like
that, but sure. I think on The Bachelor, it's more like...
Josh would say that all the time.
I don't know if he
does.
He
would talk about how
he's overweight.
It would be like, dude, if you're a good-looking dude, you might be a lot of other things, but you're an attractive guy. And he would always, like, try to be, like, modest by...
he was handsome.
Having false humility.
What's Josh up to? Do you know?
No idea.
I don't believe that. Come on.
What do you think? I keep tabs?
I keep tabs on both my enemies and my friends.
He's not my enemy. I'm more or less indifferent.
Okay.
I don't hang out with him, but I don't have like a strong hatred towards the guy.
I believe he was on the MTV Challenge.
I heard he did a reality TV show.
Yes, he was on the challenge.
I don't follow him on social media. I quite honestly haven't. He's been kind of quiet lately.
So there's this development on MTV, which is like they're integrating people from other shows.
I saw that. Didn't Chase do something?
Yes. So thank you. Chase is on X on the Beach. Have you heard?
I really disapprove of his Instagram.
Oh, Chase's?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it, but I'm going to pull it up right now. He was on Caitlin's season with you?
No. He was on JoJo's season. There's a group chat that we have with a handful of guys, a lot of which stem from Caitlin's season.
Okay.
And there's a few kind of additions. That kind of the genesis of it was we were in a fantasy football league.
I actually heard about this.
I don't pay too much attention to it because it's usually it's mostly JJ.
JJ Lane.
Yeah, sending us just nonsense most of the day. But once in a while, anytime Chase decides to post a picture of his ass or some sort of really tasteless...
He's got a lot of abs photos.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, it's just, it's a little strong in terms of unnecessary nudity.
He also dated Tommy Lahren.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So now he's on X on the Beach, which is a show that MTV imported from England, which I wholeheartedly support because this season on The Challenge, they had British people and they were wonderful additions.
Sure.
Just love the Brits. And so it's like it has people from all these different shows. So Chase is on it. Jasmine, who famously put her hands on your neck and like fake strangled you, is on it.
So I kind of get the type of people they're going for.
So would you go on that show?
Come on. Really? Do you think that little of me to even ask?
That's not what I think of you, no, but I felt an obligation just to
just
confirm.
Doing your due diligence?
Just to make it clear that you wouldn't go on. So yeah, Chase is on it, Jasmine's on it. Would you go on, like if MTV just was like, we're going to do our own version of Survivor, would you do that?
Well, no, you're the one who told me I should do Survivor and I wouldn't do that. So why would I do an MTV version of it?
Well, I just think it's interesting that MTV is like filling this space that they're like, oh, well, there's all these people who already have big followings.
Sure.
And we don't necessarily have like a show for them, but there's kind of like creating like a catch-all of people who already are like well-known entities.
I just generally, I don't see myself being a contestant on any reality TV show.
Ever again. I
mean, there's exceptions to maybe every rule, but as a cast member, like I don't think I would go on. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't. What
did you think of Ari's season of The Bachelor?
I found it more entertaining than I think some people thought. I mean, it wasn't a highly rated season. Obviously, I thought the end was exceptional TV, and I think
totally agree with you.
I think as not great as Ari was as The Bachelor, he did the show a favor and did Becca a huge favor by just not being smart about how he handled things.
Seriously.
Did
anyone approach you about filming your breakup with Vanessa? It happened on the more normal timeline, like after the fact, after you guys gave it an honest try.
There was always conversations about like, what if we did that? And I just shot it down right away. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, you have to, which is kind of to the point of producers are always going to ask. They're always going to feel you out in terms of what you're willing or not willing to do. But we all have the right to say no. Right, because again, a lot of people gave the show criticism for filming it or blindsiding Becca in terms of doing that. I don't fault them for it. I fault Ari because
he shouldn't have agreed to it.
But at the same time, he did Becca a huge favor.
I guess so by getting her the Bachelorette gig.
I mean, I think that instance is going to maybe help kind of boost up the ratings because they've taken a bit of a dip the past couple of seasons. I think Becca has a chance to be an incredibly popular Bachelorette, and I think she has a lot of momentum and a huge storyline, all predicated on that one episode. I mean, let's be honest. Like before that episode, everyone was just kind of like, she wasn't even the most popular Becca, right?
No, well. I think people liked her more, but Becca, I call her either Baby Becca or Becca.
Sure, but it was just like Becca's nice. It was like, oh yeah, sure.
Everyone liked her. Yeah, she was boring.
There was no strong opinions of her. It was like she's nice. Which one is she?
And she got very little airtime. Very little. And so all of a sudden, overnight, literally, everyone adored her. You couldn't I love her. I mean. I'm hoping for a good season of the show.
I've heard it's going to be good.
Really? What have you heard?
I haven't heard any details. Just that. Well, I mean, you know how me, Dean, and Jared did that kind of spoofy recap.
Yes, that was funny.
We plan on continuing to do that all next season.
Every week?
Shameless plug. I think so. Yeah.
On whose Instagram?
It will be kind of let off of mine, but it went viral on Facebook.
Cool.
Got like 8 million impressions.
Wow. That's a lot.
6.3 million.
Did you monetize that?
No, not yet.
So you're looking for sponsors, what you're saying?
No. I mean, well, who knows? But it's just like our fans liked it. We're just going to have fun with it.
Who will you be playing, Becca?
Well, I played Becca, so I think I'll keep playing Becca.
Okay. Jared and Dean can be your suitors.
We're going to do a bunch of different,
special guests from other people from Bachelor Nation?
Listen, it's going to be, I think people will be entertained.
Who's your crew? Like, who films it?
My buddy Kyle. It was because I have my best friend Kyle. I don't know, have you met Kyle?
No, you've talked about him though. We came up with the idea a couple years ago of because obviously all of us Bachelor people are always thinking about doing podcasts and recaps and. Sure.
And so we had this idea of like, why don't we recap it by reenacting it with like terrible wigs and just kind of spoof it and just kind of have fun with it. And so that was a couple years ago. And then on the finale, you know, Dean wanted to kind of do a recap thing. And I'm like, well, let's do this. And then we did it. And then surprisingly, it ended up being kind of a little bit of a hit. So I've been kind of texting the producers being like, hey, are you guys going to give us a lot of content? Because basically
to work with,
right?
Yeah.
Because the better the season is, the more terrible choices her suitors make,
the better it is for you.
The better it is. You know, I want a Clinton JJ kind of
oh my God,
kind of situation.
That. Yeah.
So the more guys willing to be idiots. Because I mean, you know, no one really wants to we're not trying to make fun of anyone. We're just trying to have some fun with it. So we just hope that there's situations that are fun to recap.
I feel like the Bachelor finale was so momentous and so groundbreaking that I'm like worried about the show. Because I'm just like, because
won't live up to the hype.
I just feel I'm worried I'm going to be let down because like there was so much drama that you like truly can't script and whatnot. That I'm just concerned. And then I'm worried about some of her dudes. Like
I've heard Becca is Ben Higgins nice.
I like that in Ben Higgins. Do I like that in a Bachelorette?
I don't know. I just heard, you know, and what I mean by that is like, it was when I was filming the show, it was always a priority for me because like just the crew, it's their jobs, it's their livelihood. And it can be really stressful to be the lead. So I always, no matter what, tried to remind myself to always say please and thank you. But you get stressed out and like sometimes you get pushed a lot. Yeah, and sometimes you just get frustrated and you can get a little snippy. And Ben was just notorious for just no matter what, always being Ben.
Yeah.
And I've heard Becca is that sweet. And I don't know how that's going to come across on the show, but just the cast really likes her.
All three of you are Midwestern, and you would think that.
Yeah.
I guess you're not a monolith, you Midwesterners.
Well, again, it wasn't like I wasn't nice, but you know how Ben is.
Yeah, but Ben
goes out of his way no matter what.
He's a people pleaser, at all times.
And at times, I'm willing to be direct.
I wish you would. I wish I could be like Ben. That doesn't get you in trouble. You can't please people. So like, just
it can get you in trouble. But anyways, that's a whole nother.
It's besides the point.
But I guess my point of bringing that up, I think Becca. I think your entertainment won't specifically come from Becca.
Yeah.
The Becca's value is going to be in the fact that we're all rooting for her. You know, we want her to find love. We want her to kind of be able, at the end of it, be able to stick it to Ari, you know?
That's true. One thing I'm wondering about, and I've never really gotten like real confirmation on this, is how exactly does casting work? Like, how much do they take into account the leads' preferences?
Probably not as much as we leads would like.
Like, and for you and for Becca, it's similar because you were kind of cast like more last minute. Like,
it's generally that.
It is definitely generally that with the Bachelorette because like they don't really know who it's going to be for a while. And so like how do they find the people?
Mine was extremely last minute.
Yeah, so was Ari.
Yes.
Ari's like 8 days before it was announced. I've been led to believe.
For example, I mean, I just heard on, you know, because when they were casting for Luke, I've heard things like they had a lot of, you know, 22, 23-year-olds from
the South.
And I think they generally knew that, well, one, too young for me.
Yeah.
And B, you know, just personalities might not match. So they try a little bit, but there's only so much they can do. I think generally speaking, they're hoping that the lead's really into 4.
Into 4 out of 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, and again, it's not like they pick 4, you know, they don't know either. It's a crapshoot.
Right. I know, like, how can you really, you know, unless you're like an expert matchmaker, which I don't even believe in, really.
But sometimes it's tough. Sometimes the people they would like to get either don't pass the medical or they have careers and jobs that they can't get out of, you know?
The medical part has really come to light lately. Like, a lot of people didn't know, I think, about like that kind of like level of testing. It did come out a few years ago with The Real World, where if you had STDs, you couldn't be on the show. Of course, The Bachelor tests for it as well. Yeah. But for some reason, that's like getting a lot of attention.
Why?
I don't.
It seems like common sense.
I don't know. It's interesting. Like, despite the fact that this is a show that is the more popular version, The Bachelor, is populated by women, it's like still adheres to so many of like these very like retrograde norms. Like, you can't talk, like, people don't talk about sex on the show, like, explicitly
They
ever.
do now.
Ever. I guess so. But like, not really. Like, your season, there was no like sex talk. at all.
What do you... Are you kidding?
Oh, I guess it was Corinne. I forgot about her.
Not even Corinne. Like, Liz showed up. I had to literally say to 20 women, I've had sex with her.
I forgot about that. Good point.
I'm not saying that because it's fun for me.
It's so downplayed that I forgot about it. I just feel like sexuality is like still somehow taboo. And so therefore...
again, I'm not saying this like I'm tooting my horn by any means, but like until the whole Andy and me thing, it wasn't talked about. Since then, it's now become a thing.
It's true. And also Paradise is so sexually charged.
Now they have the... before Chris Soules' season, they never did the... You know how they do the whole wake up in the morning after the fantasy suite? Uh-huh. Now they do that because of what happened between Becca and Chris.
What happened?
Well, what happened is, I don't know what happened, but obviously they had, nothing I don't think actually happened, but in terms of they had discussions that changed the landscape. Oh. And I guess the mood the next morning was awkward and whatever. I don't know the details, but it's like, well, shoot, we needed... that's why they had to, I think it was viewers were confused.
I see.
And so they had to that's why, Chris pulled Becca and had this discussion. So I think they started doing that, but you're right. They don't really bring up sex there because no one
wants to talk about it.
And as far as the fantasy suite goes, sometimes there's not as much sex as people think.
Sure. Yeah. So now it does seem like that's like,
sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. It just depends.
It's just so funny. Like you would think it would just be a bigger part of what they talk about, but it's really not. Even in Paradise, like the official narration of how the show goes, they don't even talk about it that much.
Well, because I think a lot of, people will joke about Paradise, be like at Sex Island and everyone, people, it doesn't happen as much as people think.
That's true.
If people couple up, there's a good chance they might at some point hook up. But it doesn't mean it's like people describe it as some sort of orgy, which it's not.
Doesn't seem like that.
And in any way, it's not even close to that.
How much do you sleep when you're in Paradise? Like 6 hours a night, 4 or 5?
More than you do on Bachelor.
Well, that's because you have so much obligation as like the lead, or if you're on a date. If you're on an off day though during the Bachelor, how much do you sleep? In week 3, not the Bachelor, you're like a contestant. It
depends on who you are. I mean, there's a lot of downtime, so you might just take a lot of naps.
Like Corinne, she napped.
I mean, like actual naps.
Did you work out a lot while you were on the show?
No, it's one of those things that you honestly get tired from doing nothing.
Sure.
You get mentally stressed.
Yeah, of course.
So even though you have a lot of time, you're like the thought of doing a push-up is just exhausting.
Yeah. I want to hear more about that. But first, I want to tell you about Hotel Tonight.
I actually used Hotel Tonight. It's a great app. People, you should really use it.
You did? Where'd you go?
Sometimes when I go home to Milwaukee and then I'll swing down to Chicago for a couple nights, I'll go on Hotel Tonight and get a cheap hotel.
Well, other people, when they're in Chicago, they can do the same thing. If you're the type that's always looking for a bigger, better deal, you've got to get the Hotel Tonight app. I mean, Nick just endorsed it. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them sell their unsold rooms, which means you get amazing deals.
It's actually true.
Their name is Hotel Tonight, but you can actually book in advance. You can book next week tonight, or you can book next month tonight. All it takes is 10 seconds, just 3 taps, and a swipe. There's no long, endless list of a zillion hotel choices. Hotel Tonight only shows you the best deals at the best hotels. Perfect whether you're a planner or like to leave things to the very last minute. And with Hotel Tonight's HT Perks program, the more you book, the better the deals get. Unlike other loyalty programs where you're trapped into staying at boring hotel chains. I've used Hotel Tonight and it has been extremely successful. I stayed in a great Marriott in New Orleans. I stayed at the Palazzo in Las Vegas. It's never let me down. It is a great app. I even daydream about potential staycations I could take just by checking out the hotels in Santa Monica, and sometimes I do it. Highly recommend it. So start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels and download the Hotel Tonight app now. Let's talk more about The Bachelor and the associated world. You were talking about the downtime on the show. What if you're not really a people person, how do you fill that time? Like, is there an option? Like, can you read?
Well, if you're not a people person at all, I don't think you really go on the show. Well, I mean, there's various degrees of people.
Sure. Someone like Courtney Robertson, who, by the way, really aired out Ari. Did you hear about that?
I did not.
She went on Reality Steve's podcast. And just sort of talked about her on and off relationship with Ari, and then how he got a girlfriend, and she had to.
Did she sell him out, kind of thing?
Kinda.
That's a shame.
It was weird because it seemed like they were good friends, and I just feel like.
I mean, again, I don't know the details. It just seems like a very opportunistic thing.
Did you follow any of the rumors about Ari that came out like after the show aired?
No. I find those mostly to be a lot to do about nothing. What Ari seemed to be for me, and I met him once, I just think he's a poor decision maker.
Yeah.
For example, when baby Becca, as you call her, posted those DMs that Ari sent.
Yes.
Ari is an idiot for writing Becca for several fronts, right? And
yes.
After the words. Because perception can be reality. And in that situation, he was, in a committed relationship with one of the girls, and he's and you read the DMs and they seemingly seem innocent. Now, it's still a bad choice on his part. I don't know. I don't know Ari, so I can't say, but I also think a lot of those things are people are looking for things. Maybe he's just a bad decision maker. What I've heard about Ari is that he's kind of like does his own thing, and he might just be, I don't know. People want sometimes people act a certain way, and if they make a lot to do about nothing. I don't think that makes Ari a bad guy. I just think he's kind of does his own thing and gets him in trouble publicly more than he actually is a terrible person or something.
It seems like he just really likes the ladies. He's not necessarily a one-woman man, and he just likes to do his own thing. I
guess, but it's again, like, I'm single now. Have been, other than on the show, I've been single for most of my 30s. I was in relationships most of my 20s. So, like, in some circles, there's perceptions that I'm that as well. But when you really get into my dating history, well, I've been single. So, like, I go on dates and meet women. I don't quite like being single. But in the meantime, I just think people can take any story that they want,
That's true.
I don't know. I kind of roll my eyes on some of that stuff, especially when it's like a Courtney Robinson Reality Steve podcast, because it's like they're incentivized to, play off the narrative that, like, it's almost like because it's Bachelor, you're supposed to, like, only ever be in a relationship.
Sure.
You're supposed to literally go from one relationship to another, and if you, like, end up dating a handful of people and, like, break up with them, you're somehow all of a sudden a player.
The rumors about him, though, are not that he's
I don't know the details.
It's not that he's, like, sequentially dated several women. It's that he was hooking up with multiple women who didn't know about the others at the same time, which is crappy.
I guess.
And then some other guy wrote, like, some guy went on Reddit and just wrote, like, a really long screed about how he was dating this girl, and then he took her back to his home because he was dating her, and it turns out he was neighbors with Ari, and the woman was like, "Oh, I know that guy," and then Ari, like, tried to, like, sabotage their relationship, and apparently it worked.
Weird.
It was like a really long Reddit thread. There just seems to be like a
pattern.
Sure. A pattern, and also a lot of people, like, angry enough to, like, post these long things on Reddit.
Well, one thing I don't understand generally about men, and it seems like a lot of guys in Bachelor Nation do this. I'll never for the life of me understand why men will exaggerate their feelings towards women for the sake of trying to get something out of it, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
In terms of, like, if a guy's dating someone, they might exaggerate their feelings because maybe they, just want a physical relationship, right? And then that often will get men in trouble because they lead these women on, and the women feel misled and scorned, and then there's this pushback. And it seems like maybe Ari is guilty of that, where he's just not direct in terms of, if you just want to, like, hook up, then you should maybe be upfront about that.
Yeah, I think perhaps he's not. Well, neither of us can say. Neither of us have dated or hooked up with him. Probably won't, either of us.
I don't know. I mean, clearly Ari is not the best decision maker, and maybe just in generally not totally intelligent? I don't know.
That's funny. I'm glad you brought that up. I was having a conversation with my colleague, Amanda Dobbins, who you can hear me with on Jam Session every other Wednesday on Channel 33. You're, like, not allowed to say that people are not that intelligent or, like, not that smart. And, like, I think you should be able to say that, like, perhaps
people are stupid.
Yeah, perhaps Ari is not very smart. That's okay.
Sure. I mean, listen, I'm just not trying to, like, offend anyone.
You're trying to not shade anyone. You're very political. I'm not political. And
I'm not generally political.
I was quite mean about Ari for most of the season.
In life, I'm not political at all. I just I'm not trying to, like, basically kick a guy while he's down.
Have you met him?
Once. He seemed fine.
Okay. So after Jared, it seems like you hang out with Dean the most in Bachelor Nation.
The most?
He lives in LA. You live in LA.
I've gotten to know Dean. I think he's a delightful young man.
Did you get to meet Leslie before they broke up?
I've never met Leslie.
Really?
No. She doesn't live here.
I've never met her either, but I would really like to. But I'm concerned. I'll share a concern. You can tell me if it's correct or not. Baby Becca came here twice to be on my podcast. 2 times. Oh. The second time, she told a story about Dean. And actually, she didn't tell a story about Dean. I asked her about Dean. And she was like, nope, can't talk about it. And I was like, uh-oh, let me guess. He slid into your DMs. And she was like, I can't say. And then...
Well, I've maybe heard the opposite.
Really? That she slid into his DMs?
I don't know. I can't confirm, but...
Because I've been really worried. I really like Leslie. Ever since she was on Sean Lowe's season, I've been a fan. I told Rob Mills back then that she should have been the Bachelorette. And
Who?
Leslie Murphy.
Yeah, I don't...
Okay, but that's besides the point. We'll come back to that in a minute. And so I've always really liked her and been a fan. And I was worried that the conversation with Becca, in which she talked about how Dean slid into her DM. Well, she actually didn't say it. I guessed it, and she implied that could have been correct.
I'm sure she probably implied a lot of things. You can imply a lot of things and have it not be, because when you imply things, you're like, well, I don't know. And then people can think what they want, and it's like, you're not lying. And I don't know the details. I don't know if they've even discussed in DM for sure, but...
so I just want to make sure that didn't play into the breakup with Leslie.
No, and I guarantee...
That was a really hard no.
I can guarantee you that in no way has Dean in any way ever aggressively pursued Baby Becca. I feel like I can say that with confidence, but I don't know for, like just the impression I have.
Does he know that she's been talking about him on?
I have no idea.
Interesting. I can't believe you didn't get to meet Leslie. Are you upset?
No, not even a little.
Is Dean dating anyone now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Why did they break up?
I don't know. People break up.
Okay.
I mean,
so you do know, but you choose to not share it with me.
I don't really know the details. I mean, my guess is they dated for 12 days on a show.
I think it was 2 weeks, but okay.
She lives in Arkansas or something.
She travels a lot.
Fine, but Dean's also not trying to be a travel blogger.
She also...
I just love how people why did they break up as if there's some sort of needs to be some major reason, as if they were married. They've known each other for less than 2 months.
Yeah, I understand. But here's they Instagram about each other a lot, which I just think is a bad idea. You got to have 6 months under your belt before you Instagram about each other, in my opinion.
Unless you meet in The Bachelor and you're doing it for the likes.
I guess that's true. And then they went on... Ben's trip to Honduras together.
Okay.
For the coffee trip.
Sure.
So...
Well, Ben and Dean are friends, and Leslie is a travel blogger, so it's probably mutually beneficial.
Wow, you're painting a picture here that I'm not sure I'm happy about.
What do you mean? I'm not...
That they're doing it all for the likes.
No, I'm not saying that, but I think they really dated. I think there was from what I know, they liked each other, but it also it didn't work out. You get to know people. I don't know the details of who ended what relationship, but right. I don't think there's nothing dramatic has to happen. I don't know. I'm not saying it was disingenuous, but I mean, in terms of why you suggested that Bachelor people or anyone should abstain from posting on social media until they can validate that they're going to last. Now, well, if in my case, in my life now, I'm very careful about that. I won't.
You don't post anything but yourself, really.
Well, I post with my friends, but I'm very particular about posting with any woman that someone might suggest I'm dating, because I just don't want to deal with that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm careful about that. So, but if Dean and Leslie meet on a show, everyone already knows they're together. So I don't think it's in bad taste to keep posting. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I don't.
Yeah, of course it makes sense. The whole thing was just really, I don't know. I was bummed. I wanted them to work out. I don't know why. I felt invested. How did Jared feel about Ashley and Kevin?
You'd have to ask Jared. Got
it. So you are telling me you don't discuss this stuff with your friends. I don't believe you.
Well, I'll tell you what I don't do is discuss my friend's business without their permission on your podcast.
Okay, that's fair. Fine. Fine. Whatever. Let me tell you a little bit more about what I know about Becca's season.
Okay.
So this is unfortunate.
How do you know this?
From the internet. I don't actually have not. I don't like to be spoiled because as a commentator, Sure. I think it corrupts my product if I know what's going to happen. But I'm an avid TMZ reader. And Becca's gone so mainstream as a result of the Ari breakup that they had a post yesterday about one of her hometowns. And I was really pissed.
Why?
Because now I know like one person who goes far.
Oh. But see, I think it's fine. I mean, it's almost impossible for me not to be spoiled just because
You're in Bachelor Nation.
So in Bachelor Nation, it's like you just hear it. But for me, I still find value in watching the show. And I also, as long as you don't know who the winner is, it's pretty, like and even for you, you've watched the show from the beginning. And I think even subconsciously as a viewer, I think you could probably figure out the top 4 in 2 episodes.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Just the way.
The way that's portrayed and.
So I think you just kind of figure it out, as far as, and it really comes down to, you could probably figure out even final 3 or final 2. It's just, sometimes it's hard to predict the winner.
Sure.
It still makes all the other stuff entertaining.
Have you met Tia?
I have not.
Because she's in LA, I think, sometimes.
They're all in LA sometimes. I think they're all. I think they're casting for Paradise. So I think they're all in LA right now.
Oh, would you go in Paradise as the bartender to take over Wells's role?
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. It was fun. I mean, I would probably go down
Sayulita.
Listen, I loved Paradise because I went down and told some jokes and gave people dating advice most of the time.
And got to be on The Bachelor after that.
And then got to be The Bachelor. I think Wells is doing a great job. I don't think they need me. But
would he go back?
Probably. I don't know. Why not? Why wouldn't you? That's a fun role. He doesn't have to date anyone. He gets to make cocktails, and he's basically you get in that scenario, he's kind of above the fray. That's
true. Okay, fair enough. Tell me one thing that people don't know about being the former Bachelor that is interesting and weird. I don't know, just about what it's like to be the Bachelor out in the wild.
So hard.
Do you still get stopped a lot?
Yes.
I've been with you and you get stopped. It happens a lot.
Doesn't happen. I mean, LA is better than most cities.
Does it happen more in Chicago?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it's just because
less access to celebrities.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about Kanye and President Trump?
I feel very negatively about it.
He's going to be on Celebrity Family Feud.
Kanye?
Yeah.
He refused. He didn't show up, I think, is what happened.
No, he showed up.
Oh,
I was personally affected by it.
You were? How? Tell the story.
We got bumped by Kanye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that episode air yet? I thought the Kardashian episode aired.
I thought you knew about that.
I didn't. Tell the story. It's fine. We'll tell Rob Mills you're telling it and he won't care.
Rob will care. Rob's, I think, very excited about the Kanye and President Trump stuff.
That's good for him.
Because he plugged Celebrity Family Feud.
He did?
We got a call a couple weeks ago on a Friday, and we were like, hey, or I got a call, do you want to do Celebrity Family Feud? And I was like,
Who called you?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. It does matter, but fair enough.
Just someone from ABC. I don't know.
Okay.
They're like, hey, do you and some of your Bachelor buddies want to do Celebrity Family Feud? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, it would be against the Kardashians. And I'm like, what? So immediately I was just surprised. So we're like, sure. But the whole time, it seemed very last minute, and it was, because it was going to happen the next day.
Okay.
Also seemed why? Why would they want to do it with us kind of thing? I don't know. But, so we agreed to do that. It was all set up. We had all our they gave us all the arrangements and things like that. And then at 10 o'clock at night, they're like, hey, sorry, we cut it because Kanye said he wants to do it.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I get it. But
wow.
But then I heard, because then a report came out, because obviously they posted about it. And then I heard, and it all kind of made sense, because then I heard originally it was supposed to be, and I think Rob Mills did verify this, it was supposed to be the Hiltons versus the Kardashians.
Right, I heard that.
The Hiltons
didn't
canceled.
Show, yeah.
So last minute they're like, well, let's get some Bachelor bums. And then thank God Kanye.
And then it was the West versus the Jenners.
Imagine the conversation on a Friday night. Kim and her mom are hanging out, and we're doing Celebrity Family Feud. I guess we're gonna do against the Bachelor. And Kanye having I am not letting my wife,
God.
low herself to hang out with a bunch of Bachelor people. He steps in and saves the day.
Incredible. And he actually probably just heard there was a PR opportunity that he didn't know about, and he was like, no, I want that. That's probably my guess.
I'm just surprised when it comes to the Kanye stuff that people react and fall for it.
I think I think if you really care about his music, you care about him, and he's an icon in your life. And if you disagree with him,
but
it's heartbreaking.
He's doing it.
There's a lot of theories. Some
he
people think it's marketing.
Came out and said, "I'm going to start tweeting."
Yeah.
And did you really expect him to tweet something uninteresting and whatever?
Here's the thing. I think people who are upset about it are generally not in favor of the president.
No, I get that.
But I think that one thing that is like kind of separate, like kind of been compartmentalized that shouldn't be, is that supporting Trump is completely in line with enjoying being in the Kardashian family and wanting to, and Kim Kardashian was his dream girl and he made it happen. So this shouldn't be a surprise, but it is. But many people feel that it is.
I guess I'm surprised that people are surprised that he tweeted something as obnoxious and as shocking as this stuff.
Yeah. He's a provocateur and he's successful because everyone's talking about it.
If nothing else, he's that.
I find it upsetting. I just find,
it's disappointing. It's just not shocking.
Yes. And I obviously watch a ton of reality TV, but I happen to despise the Kardashians and I hate the show. And so,
you do?
Yeah, I've actually only seen one full episode, and I despise that whole type of reality television. I was never into the Hiltons. That's really not for me.
In what way? What do you mean?
I don't really like the sort of privileged family aspiring for more.
I saw a tweet, something about Kim and Kanye showing their house or something, and People magazine was like, their $20 million house, and Kris Jenner wrote back, wrong. Kind of Trump-like in a way.
Yeah.
It's $60 million, as if I thought that was a bit tasteless, but people seemed, and I was surprised because reading the comments, people just loved that Kris Jenner was calling them out as if, I don't know, but whatever,
I don't like any of this. I don't like the Kardashians. I don't like the Jenners. I don't like Kanye. I don't like Trump.
Okay, so
the whole thing for me is
expect this part to be cut out from the podcast.
No, definitely not. I'm comfortable saying it, and it's fine. The Kanye stuff I think is just complicated because I think it's hard for people who really like his music who don't agree with him to sync those two things up.
For me, it's just sometimes just don't give people what they're trying. If he's a provocateur, people sometimes, I'm surprised smart people will play into people's hands and just get the reaction that ultimately they're trying to get. And there's a lot of people who are just wasting a lot of energy on this situation, even us right now.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be. Trying to you hear how John Legend called Kanye.
He texted him and Kanye screenshot.
Sure. And it's just why is John Legend wasting his time? I get
because it's his good friend.
Sure. But it's I
went to the
don't even know Kanye, but everything I've heard is Kanye will be Kanye.
I went to the college dropout tour, Kanye's first tour, in the year 2004, 2 times in 6 weeks. And it was just Kanye on stage with his pianist and backup singer, and it was John Legend. And John Legend was great and is great. I'm a huge John Legend defender.
He's fantastic.
And also I love him and Chrissy Teigen. They are just a wonderful couple. I saw them at a party once and they seemed really in love.
I met her. She was very nice.
Yeah, they seem like awesome people.
Just cool people.
That are good at both good at being celebrities and also have chosen to align themselves with causes that I think are worthy.
And just humble to a point where they don't even need to be and they still are.
She's quite honest in a way that I think many people find uncomfortable.
I think she's just, she hasn't I don't even follow her, but she doesn't seem to forget where she comes from and still has a level head about her life and who she is. And I mean, God, she could be a total
she could be a monster, yeah.
And she's just chill
totally
and cool.
Not. I know.
I think that's great.
It's true.
Sometimes people are just afraid of honest and true things.
That's so true, Nick. That's a great deep note to end this on.
All right. Well, it's good to see you.
Thanks so much for coming. Hope to have you back again soon.
Let's get some dim sum.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Hotel Tonight. And I'll be back in 2 weeks.